Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm Matthew Sheffield.
And I'm Lisa Curry. And today we are joined by the very talented author and journalist, Justine Barron. Hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm great, thanks.
Good, so good to see you.
You too.
Yeah, so there was a really fun story that happened over the weekend, I have to say.
I love this.
And this is maybe the first time in many decades that Donald Trump has been booed incessantly at an event. And so he was invited because the Libertarian Party got officially taken over by a right-wing caucus. They invited him to speak at their convention, their national convention in DC.
They invited him, and then I guess they would have to have invited him, and then they booed him. I have to say,
yeah,
them booing him gives me hope.
Well, because it's more complicated than that, Lisa.
No, I want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, but okay, but we got to play the video here for everybody to get the full context. So one of the friends of the show, Juliet Jeske, she actually made a clip of all the boo. He got booed like a ton of times, so she stitched them all together for us. So here it is. This is right at the beginning.
So that's good. It's a theft. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years.
And he has no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And I am not a good thing. That's nice. Whoa. That's nice. That's nice.
He's so mad at them.
I wonder what's going through his mind.
Yeah.
Is he like converting it to cheers? You know what I mean? Does he have that capacity? Assume everyone loves him, or I don't know. I'm curious about that.
Oh,
yeah, I feel like he would. All like just him, when he does the thing where he's like showing his teeth. And he's trying to make it look like he's smiling, but it's just his teeth are showing.
Oh yeah. Well, it's the showbiz smile is what that is actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lisa's doing it there for the audio listeners who are missing out.
When I was
like a pain.
I used to perform before I was ready to perform, and I don't know, Lisa, maybe you've experienced, maybe one of you have experienced like where the audience isn't laughing or enjoying you, you know? And I have the capacity to kind of like white it out and imagine that I'm, being loved. So I kind of wonder if he has that capacity. You sort of have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
although in that room, it was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think he probably tried that at first. Yeah.
Right.
It didn't work. Well, so basically the backstory is that libertarianism, as people who listen to this podcast probably know, is
scourge on our country.
Yes, and it is basically conservatism plus weed, essentially, and same-sex marriage. And so anyway, the party got taken over by this group of people called the Mises Caucus, and they're like far right, completely like anarchist type. The thing is, though, the Libertarian Party conventions are always chaotic. Like I reported on one year, and like a guy who was, I think he was a vice presidential nominee, he took off his clothes on the stage and stripped to his underwear.
Oh, so it was a party? It was a party.
Yeah, it was. He was protesting something. I don't remember what it was.
Well,
but yeah,
I was saying before we started filming, I worked for a libertarian organization called the Marijuana Policy Project, and they were influential in getting laws passed for marijuana. But the culture was crazy. And it's exactly what you're talking about. The boss would have definitely taken his clothes off. We had Playboy Mansion parties. He got in trouble for sexually harassing like all the women on staff, not me, but everyone else. That's okay. But yeah, but then
you sound disappointed.
You sound like you're let down by that. Yeah.
I was. But during the day, it was like so fiercely bureaucratic, you know? Like I remember emailing someone, you know, if you could get it to me as soon as possible. And she started arguing with me about what as soon as possible meant, like ASAP, because it was that kind of DC bureaucracy. So I just bring that up because it sounds like exactly the split you're talking about, where it's sort of both things at once, you know?
Yeah. And so like for them, basically, like, so a lot of libertarians actually hate Trump, even though they're right wing with him, because they're still mad about COVID. And like everyone else is like, that is the time I do not think about anymore. I do not judge my friends and family for what they did during the before times. But these guys are like, you know, they're still
I'm still split and argumentative with people, but I love an argument, I think is what's happening.
Well, and that's like that is behind a lot of the rage that Trump was experiencing there. And so because, you know, and like a lot of them are because actually RFK Jr., he spoke the day before at the Libertarian Convention, and he was much better received. And it's largely because he's an anti-vax lunatic. And, you know, he matches them better.
Can I ask you a question, though? Because you seem knowledgeable about this. My understanding is that libertarianism in its pure form is really radical. Like they don't even believe in borders, open immigration. Like that's how it's supposed to be, right? But I don't think anyone is like that now, are they?
Yeah, very few. Like there was basically a split when Trump, basically when Trump came along, there were people who had kind of the more, you know, anarchistic, even some arguably left-leaning perspective, and they all left because they were like, holy shit, I didn't know I signed up for this. Like I have several friends who started out with kind of those viewpoints, and they're like, wow, these people are freaks, and they want businesses to dictatorships, so I can't do this. So you're right, absolutely, Justine, for sure. But you probably saw that up close, I'm guessing.
I don't know. It was just, I mean, it was just, we just talked marijuana, you know, what ASAP means, and everyone was like forcibly compelled to get high at after work parties, which was really uncomfortable because I'm allergic. So that was my
no.
I didn't even know that was an allergy.
It's a plant. Yeah.
It did make me wonder though, and Trump basically, he was also, sidetrack. So like Trump also was promising, he was trying to promise them anything. Like he was putting on his full salesman persona. He was like, I'll have a libertarian in my cabinet. And like one of the other things that they're crazy about is this guy
like,
who
Joe Rogan will be my VP.
Hey, I'm sure he would say that. Yeah, like he'll say anything to get elected. But it did make me wonder, like, did he gain votes from this, or did he lose votes, or was it a wash? What do you think, Lisa?
Probably a wash, because I'm sure there were a lot of people in the audience that are like, well, I think the same people would have also booed Joe Biden. They're probably all going to vote. That's where all the RFK Jr. voters are. And God bless him. Maybe I think it's a wash in that way. And I can't tell anymore if he genuinely has a lot of support or if those people are just loud. I mean, I know politicians on the right are largely backing him, which is scary.
No, wait, him? Who is him? Trump.
Trump. Sorry. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, I will say
RFK in politics.
Yeah, I will say I really do hope that RFK does run for the Libertarian nomination. Please do that. You'll do us all a favor. The other thing, though, is that Republicans, they do really fall in line, and because their party doesn't give a crap about them anyway, and so like they just follow along. And Nikki Haley last week really exemplified that. I mean, there's that old saying that Democrats have to fall in love with their candidate, and Republicans fall in line. And Nikki Haley, after being insulted with all kinds of racist bullshit from Donald Trump, he kept mispronouncing her first name, and made sure to highlight that to the Republican electorate to be like, no, she's not really white. She's got light skin, but she's not white. She's not one of you. And he called her bird brain all the time, and then she's like, well, I'm just going to vote for Trump anyway.
I mean, in that way, I will also call her bird brain. What the fuck? If for no other reason, your pride and your ego should keep you from publicly supporting somebody who has publicly insulted you, even if you're like privately you've mended things. What?
I think the Republicans are ruthless, and they like blackmail each other. And do you remember when Lindsey Graham was talking shit about Trump for years? And then all of a sudden they went and had golf, and he's like, he's the greatest man to ever walk. You know what I mean? So they do everything to keep themselves in line. They are dirty. I have a feeling quite a few Republicans have been blackmailed in order to fall in line. Maybe that's my conspiracy theory, but
pretty easy with Lindsey Graham, I think.
Sure.
But yeah, and no, and like, but they do understand that ultimately, if you want to have an impact on the party, you have to do it during the primary, and because withholding your vote in the general election, it doesn't help anybody. Like, I mean, unless you live in a lopsided state or where it doesn't really actually matter if you vote or not. If you live in a swing state, all you're doing is helping the bigger opposing party by withholding your vote in the general. Like that is the reality. And Republicans figure that out. And this is why, so they put all their action in the primary. And this is why the Republican Party has been purged of moderates. There are no moderate Republicans because the right-wing Republicans were smart about how to do politics. They don't know anything about anything else. Like their ideas about science and religion and relationships and family and school are all stupid. They don't know what the hell they're doing except about politics. Democrats have to get smarter, the Democratic voters as well, I would say.
So Royce White is challenging. He's Amy Klobuchar's challenger in the next Senate race. He's a Republican, and he has admitted to spending. He has admitted to spending $100,000 in campaign donations at a strip club, sporting goods stores, and expensive hotels. Now, this is, again, I have to side with him. What a fun time. Sounds great. I mean, personally, I'm not into strip clubs or sporting goods stores, but I can get behind, high tread count sheets in a nice hotel.
Yeah. Well, it's and it was funny because like one of the things why he was asked about it, why did you spend all this campaign money at a strip club? And he said, well, I like the food.
Yeah.
I think Royce White is, like once Trump came in and took over the Republican Party, it was like, like a bug zapper light for grifters and criminals, because they're like, hey, I can do whatever I want in this party, and I can steal from these people, and they will continue to vote for me. And
you know what's hilarious?
That's clearly, and he got the right message clearly.
Hilariously, his website, the first thing that you see on his website is big block text that says senators should work for the people, not their own net worth, which is so fucking funny on the heels of him spending all that money on himself.
Yeah, I mean, that's funny.
People are getting elected regardless with all of this baggage, Santos, right? I mean, I don't know how much was known before he was elected, but
not very much. Actually.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but there's still a lot of them who get elected regardless, because like you said, they just fall in line.
Yeah,
this kind of thing used to like anger populists, even Republicans. They used to get mad at this level of blatant corruption. But I think everything has become so divisive right now that it's just, I mean, honestly, I even think there are Democrats who could probably get away with this kind of thing and stay in power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because everyone needs to be on their side, you know.
I was going to say also on his website, just because I have it pulled up here, there's a photo of him because he's a professional basketball player, I guess. There's a photo of him with the words "Sound of Freedom" written on the side of his head in what looks like Sharpie. And I have a friend who's a big sex worker rights advocate, Caitlin Bailey, who we've had on the show. And that documentary has been completely debunked. It was fully fabricated. It is a made up idea of what sex trafficking actually is. And it's like we've already gone over this guy making a fucking documentary on a false premise, and this moron is advertising that, you know, he champions that fake documentary.
Do you think some of these?
Oh, he's a QAnon person for sure. Yeah, he's huge a QAnon.
I was just wondering, like, do you think some of these politicians are feeling the same kind of apocalyptic end of the world thing that a lot of us are? And they're like, fuck it, I'm taking the money and doing what I want. I don't even know if we'll be around in a few years, you know?
Yeah, well, to be honest, Justine, like, so I don't know if you know, but like, I used to work in Republican politics.
Oh, yeah, right.
I used to be a consultant for different interest groups. And I did hear, like, one time I was in a meeting and the boss of one of the groups, who is like this insane fundamentalist Christian, he said flat out in one of the meetings, he was like, this country won't exist in 20 years. So I'm going to get as much money as I can so I can get out.
And there you
that
go.
was what he said this to his staff.
And we're foolish for not doing the same at some point, right? I'm still trying to believe in a meritocracy. I'm the crazy one here.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, on that one you definitely are. Live Nation Ticketmaster. I think it's the one company that everyone in America hates. It unifies across the ideological divides, and the Department of Justice has just recently launched a antitrust lawsuit to break up the company because, as I think everybody knows by now, they have a complete monopoly on live events and concerts and things like that. And they've jacked up the prices massively and provided horrible service. So I think everyone wishes them the best of luck.
They're one of the top, if not the biggest, concert promoter in the United States. They own a lot of venues. And if you perform there, you have to use Ticketmaster. You can't use anything else. And I heard an interview over the weekend of a musician saying, like, we performed at this venue and Live Nation is charging us $500 for a dozen fresh towels in backstage in the like shower area. And he's like, and they can do that. Because what can we fucking do? They're charging like exorbitant amounts of money. Ticketmaster charges a convenience fee for you doing your own checkout online. I'm like, how is this convenient to me? To just click I'm doing all the work here, and also I don't get a fucking printed ticket anymore. And you are doing no work. I've done all of it. It's like those restaurants. It's like how restaurants now post COVID, so many of them are still doing the QR code, and it's like you ring yourself up, you go get your own water, you do everything, and then they're like, please tip 20%. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I think there's so many companies that they should be going after for antitrust. This is definitely. I think this one will have bipartisan support because politicians on both sides have kids who want to go to see Taylor Swift, so I think that's probably, I actually, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
God bless Taylor Swift, she'll save us.
That could be the catalyst, Taylor Swift could be the catalyst for.
Well, and that is actually why she streamed her or did her movie in theaters, because she was tired of dealing with them and the producers of that, and And it worked out really well for her. So I think, other high grossing musicians are I'm sure they looked at that and were like, hey, I think this is what I'm going to do.
There are some frightening companies with an enormous amount of control. People should look into Axon, who does body cameras and is now doing facial recognition. Like, there are some companies that need to have the antitrust lawsuits, but it's not going to happen because they're too in league with the government, I mean, Boeing, maybe, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, we've talked about actually Axon on this podcast before.
Oh.
Yeah, like they're trying to use AI to file police reports now. There's a small good aspect of it, but yeah, in a lot of other ways, not so good. But anyway, that you guys can look that episode up if you want to.
I will, because I write about them. Lisa, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, and for me, everything comes back to my rage about wealth inequality. I literally had a dream last night that I was screaming at a group of people about different aspects of wealth inequality. And for me, this is also tied into that because we've somehow, and I think both parties in a big way, have shifted toward this idea over the years that having a life outside of grinding yourself to death at work is not necessary, and that's some kind of fucking luxury. And it's like, when it cost $200 for nosebleed seats to see a concert, and it's, a family outing to the movies is $150, $200, going to the roller rink is $300. Like, just any kind of activity that you can have with your family or friends in the pursuit of fucking enjoying tiny slices of your life between working 10 jobs in the gig economy. The idea that is a luxury that you should not be able to attain, or that you shouldn't be afforded, is psychotic. And I feel like this folds into that. Like, I complain to my mom a lot that, like, I talk about, like, I really would like to move to London. I just can't afford it right now. My mom's like, well, the grass is greener. And I'm like, it is. Fly to Europe to see big concerts because it's literally cheaper to fly to Europe, buy the concert tickets, have a whole, 4 days in Europe or whatever, and come back than it is to see Beyonce on a fucking Friday up the road from your house.
No, and the grass is greener in places that actually regulate the chemicals in our food and water. Like, corporations love the US because they can do whatever the fuck they want here. I'm allowed to curse, right? Or I have so far.
Yeah.
They love us. They love us. They can charge.
It's the freedom. Yeah, it's the freedom to oppress. Is like the libertarian and Republican ethos. Like, that's really what it is. And I guess one thing that perhaps I wish had been a live streamed event took place in Florida a little while ago, that Father Fidel Rodriguez, who is a vicar at the Catholic Church in St. Cloud, he was charged with battery after a woman told police that she had been assaulted because he bit her while they were doing communion.
I love this so much. Did God compel him to? I guess that is the question. Because if God did, then he's not guilty. Also, I want to know what the argument was. Sorry, I did not look up what the argument was.
Well, I'll tell it to you. Yeah, so basically, according to the woman, she said he would not give her, quote, the cookie, because she was wearing a low-cut tank top.
Okay, I was raised Catholic. They're very fucking serious. Oh, when my grandfather died, my best friend came to the funeral. She's her family are not church going people, and the Catholic Church does not fuck around with you accepting the Eucharist. And my friend goes up and just stands in front of the priest, like, as we're all going to receive communion, and she just stands there, and he's like, body of Christ. And she's just standing there, and he's like, body of Christ. And she goes, oh, yeah. And just, like, puts her hand out, and he's like, have you ever received communion? And she's like, no. And he's like, please sit down. In my family, I thought, like, her doing that canceled out her coming and showing up for the funeral and being supportive. They were horrified. And I'm like, who really cares? But this is kind of funny to me. And it is funny also that she said it was a cookie.
But why did he bite her?
Well, okay, so
She had it coming, it sounds like.
yeah, okay, so according to the woman, at first he was trying to shove it down her throat, is what she said, and she was like, please don't do that to me, and she stepped back, and then she was like, can I just take it, please, and then he said no, and then she let's see here, and then it says that she pushed back on him while he was trying to shove it down her throat, and then she tried to grab another wafer that he was holding in his other hand, and he grabbed her arm and bit her while she tried to do that. Because it's not self-service, I guess. At least I actually had never known, like, do they force you to take it out of the dude's hand? Is that how it works? I don't know.
You have to have your, first of all, right hand goes under your left hand, and they hold it up and they say body of Christ. If your right hand is on top, they will not fucking hand it to you. And you put it in your hand, and you're supposed to take it out of your left hand with your right hand, put it in, and you're not supposed to chew it because it's the body of Christ and it's supposed to fucking dissolve in your mouth. Although some churches do pieces of bread, so I think you have to chew that up. Anyway, I think that's like a different branch of Christianity. Anyway, or you can receive it directly in your mouth. They'll say body of Christ, and you just keep your hands down, and the priest puts it directly in your mouth like a baby bird. Which is weird, I think.
Yeah, and to be honest, like maybe this priest had like a fetish, and he was like, oh well, I like her blouse, I'm gonna
maybe he bites all parishioners.
So I'm gonna be paying attention.
He wanted her to bite him. Go ahead.
I'm gonna be watching this case because I have a personal interest in cults and a lot of cult behavior. You know, some cults establish themselves as 501c3 nonprofit religions, and once they do that, all the abuse.
Lisa and I are going to do that. You know, just full disclosure. Sorry. No, I'm joking. Seriously.
No problem. I want to hear about exactly what your regiment of abuse will be. But the abuse is
monthly
allowed.
Patreon. That's all.
Yeah.
I can't, guys. No, the abuse is like allowed. You know, Scientology's abuses, like those people should be in jail, but because it was a religion. So I'm going to be curious to watch this because that is absolutely going to be the legal defense. You know, that this is someone operating as, they're going to pull up examples of religions being abusive and it being allowed. So I'm actually genuinely interested in this, how this will play out, you know, while also being a little jealous. I kind of would love the opportunity to like arrest or sue a priest, you know.
Yeah, it sounds fun. As long as somebody else is paying for the attorney, right? All right. Well, let's see. We got one more story.
Other Catholic news. Yeah, this is so good. A 15-year-old, a deceased 15-year-old, is set to become the first millennial saint after the Pope recognized his second miracle, which I lost.
He's God's influencer.
Yeah, they're calling him God's influencer, and he apparently cured a young Brazilian boy from annular pancreas, which is a rare congenital disease. And then the second miracle relates to a woman named Liliana from Costa Rica, whose daughter Valeria was left with severe head trauma and multiple other injuries after falling from her bicycle in Florence, where she was a university student. Website claims that doctors said she had a low chance of survival. And then they visited his tomb. And according to this girl's mother, the next day, or that same day rather, her daughter began to, quote, breathe spontaneously. So, have you considered, Justine, with your long COVID, going to visit this kid's tomb?
No, because he's a millennial. If he were Gen X, maybe.
Yeah.
And the other thing about this story that I don't get is that this kid died in 2006, and his body they put his body on a public display, and it's been out there like for almost 20 years. This dead body sitting there. Like, what is wrong with people? Why would you want to do that to someone? That is like, isn't that a desecration? Like, I would feel that way.
No, if it's not spooky, it's not Catholicism.
I don't. It's like, yeah. I mean, like what? Like the only other ones I can think of that did that was like the communists in Russia did that with Lenin.
You can display my body.
Yeah, no,
only
Jews
if you charge entrance fee, Lisa.
No, Jews would never. We have like our strict mourning period, and then we don't talk about it, but we cry about it. That's how.
Well, Jesus was a Jew, Justine, so
yeah,
it's covered.
So wait, when you sit Shiva, it's not all around surrounding your casket.
We do not claim Jesus.
I know, I'm joking, but no, like it's funny though, because like I think Catholicism is really a great example of how religions are just this mishmash of the surrounding things when they got started. Like Catholicism, it came into areas where there was polytheism, and like that's what saints are. Like they're your little household god, and Catholics are offended when I say things like that, but it's true, guys, and you know it.
Are you offended, Lisa?
Deeply. I can't believe.
But yeah. All right. Well, so that is our last story for the day. It's been nice having you, Justine. So you have a book that you have out right now, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that real quick.
It came out last year. It's about Freddie Gray's death in Baltimore police custody. I solved the case. I revealed evidence that was never shared with the public, not shared in court. I discover how police, prosecutors, the state, and the federal government covered up his death. It's called "They Killed Freddie Gray: The Anatomy of a Police Brutality Cover-Up." It's not funny.
Oh, okay. Well,
but it's informative and hopefully heartwarming, and it really focuses on these witnesses. A whole lot of witnesses who saw what happened and were removed from the narrative by the powers that be and by the media.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, and so what's your
a lot of work into it? Obviously.
Yeah.
And
what's your social handle? Also, sorry.
Oh, my social security number. No, my social handle. I was ready to give it.
Handle.
I was ready. My social Jewstein 3000.
Okay, cool. All right, so people should check you out over there, and that's on all the major places.
It is. I'm not much on Instagram. I can't get into photographs, but I am very active on Twitter, as Lisa knows.
Okay, well, sounds good.
Yeah, and please follow me on Instagram at Olympian Lisa Curry. And this week, all this week after this comes out, I'm oh my goodness, I am at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, May 28th through June 2nd. So if you're in the area, come out to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody make sure to follow at Doomscroll Show on all the places, and we'll throw in a free communion wafer if you do. See you next time.